Good day, we are the Group 7 and I am Coline Prades from BSBA FM2, and the assigned topic that we were going to discuss is all about social responsibilities of central bank and its advocacies. To talk about first the social responsibilities of central bank and its role. Central bank is described as the lender of last resort, which means it is responsible for providing its nation's economy with funds, especially when commercial banks cannot cover a supply shortage. It also prevents the country's banking system from failing. Before we proceed, let's define the word social responsibility. It is an ethical theory in which individuals or an institution are accountable for fulfilling their civic duty, and the actions of an individual or an institution must benefit the whole society. In this way, there must be a balance between economic growth and the welfare of society and the environment. If this equilibrium is maintained, then we can say that the social responsibility is accomplished. Decisions and actions must be ethically validated before proceeding to the process. If action or decision causes harm to society or to environment, then it would be considered to be socially irresponsible. Every individual or an institution has a responsibility to act in manner that is beneficial to society and not solely to individual. We all know that central banks are responsible for overseeing the monetary system for a country or nation. Their main goal is to provide their country's currencies with price stability by controlling inflation. And how about the word role? Role refers to one's position to an organization or society. It is simply what the person does and the purpose of someone or something has in a society. Let's proceed to social responsibilities of Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas. It shall be the responsibility of the Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas, number 1, to provide policy directions in the areas of money, banking, and credit. The main responsibility of Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas is to formulate and implement policy in the areas of money, banking, and credit with the primary objective of reserving price stability. Later on, we're going to discuss about the price stability. The next responsibility is to supervise operations of the banks and to exercise such regulatory and examination powers as provided under Republic Act Number 11211, the new Central Bank Act as amended, and other pertinent laws over banking operations of non-bank financial institutions. Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas Financial Supervision Sector is mainly responsible for the regulation of banks and other BSP-supervised financial institutions. It also handles critical requests of banks and non-banks that require BSP approval and supports implementation of new supervisory process and consents. The last responsibility is to exercise regulatory and examination powers over money service businesses, credit granting businesses, and payment system operations. The Monetary Board is the one who is responsible to exercise the powers and functions of the Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas, such as the conduct of monetary policy and supervision of the financial system. Let's now proceed to the role of central bank. Central bank is responsible for managing a country's money affairs, determines the level of short-term interest rates, thereby profoundly affecting financial markets, wealth, output, employment, and prices. Central bank plays an important role in economic development in a way of promotion and maintenance of rising level of production, employment, and real income in the country. So now, let's proceed to the role of Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas. The Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas' role is to ensure that the financial system is able to perform its financial intermediation role despite economic shocks. Financial stability is essential for monetary policy. Because of long-term structural reforms, the Philippine financial system, with banking sector at its core, continues to be a source of strength and stability of our economy. Next is the role of Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas in the economy through its three pillars of central banking. We all know that the three golden stars represents the three pillars of central banking, which are price stability, financial stability, and efficient payments and settlement system, as well as the Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas commitment to promote and sustain high quality of life for all Filipinos across Luzon, Visayas, and Mindanao. The first pillar is price stability. This entails keeping inflation low to promote economic efficiency and improve the well-being of the Filipinos. The Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas manages inflation and maintains stable prices by influencing the cost and volume of money circulating in the economy. So how the Bangko Sentral help maintain stable prices? It is through conducting a monetary policy. Monetary policy refers to the actions of central bank takes to influence interest rates and the total demand for goods and services. These actions aim to keep the movement in the prices of goods and services at desired rate over the long term. The second pillar is the financial stability. It is state in which the financial system, the key financial markets, and the financial institutional system is resistant to economic shocks and is fit to smoothly fulfill its basic functions, such as the intermediation of financial funds, management of risks, and arrangement of payments. The Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas seeks to maintain the health of banking system so it can effectively promote better pooling of savings. Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas executives continue to conduct off-site surveillance and non-site examinations not just on banks but also BSP supervised financial currency. The last pillar is efficient payments and settlement system. The Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas further improved policies on electronic banking, blockchain-based remittance platforms, and digital payments. This helps to ensure the safe, timely, and accurate payment and settlement of financial transactions. Like Mr. Jokno also said that the digital payment is now among the new normal mode of payments. Thus, The need of enhanced internet access and mobile phone ownership, not just for social connections, but also for safe and convenient financing services.
And now we will be discussing about the social responsibilities of the central bank to promote social environment and advocacies and how they can help to the people and community. So the BSP is involved in promoting advocacies that support the financial inclusion priorities set by the Financial Inclusion Steering Committee FISC of the National Strategy for Financial Inclusion NSFI. So the digital finance advocacy. The goal is to democratize access to a transaction account and make transaction accounts relevant and valuable not only for those who have money but also for anyone who needs to send and receive money conveniently and affordably. So here, this necessitates the development of the digital finance infrastructure like digital enabled market layers, ubiquitous financial access points, and a safe and efficient retail payments. And use cases for digital payments like bills payments, merchant acceptance, payment of government fees, and receipt of government welfare benefits. So first is the use cases of transaction account. The BSP actively engages other government agencies to promote widespread use of a transaction account, like bank or e-money account for digital payments, like social transfers, receipt of wages, payment for transportation, and etc. And to strengthen consumer trust in digital finance through financial and digital literacy and consumer protection policies. Second one, the support to the PLCs. The BSB actively participates in the policy development and implementation of the Philippine Identification System or PLCs as a member of the PLCs Policy and Coordinating Council. So, as the national digital ID system, PLCs is a crucial enabler for financial inclusion with its potential to facilitate cost-efficient client onboarding and digital finance innovations. Third one is the capacity building. The BSP works closely with development partners in identifying and providing strategic support to improve financial services for rural communities and other underserved sectors. So, strategic support in the form of technical assistance and technology matching grant aims to capacitate both regulators and service providers, particularly on digital financial inclusion. Now, next with the agriculture and MSME finance advocacy. So, the lack of access to financing has long been a hindrance to the development of the country's agriculture and MSME sectors. To this end, the BSB is addressing the perceived risk and supporting lenders' capacity to deliver appropriate products to these sectors. So, through the development of adequate financial information infrastructure and appropriate lending frameworks, banks will be encouraged to lend to them. Now, with the promotion of agri-value chain financing or AVCF, the BSP issued CIR number 908 to promote AVCF as a sustainable financing approach and set the guidelines and incentives for banks engaged in AVCF. The BSB continues to increase the bank's knowledge and awareness of the potential of AVCF as a viable business strategy and facilitate dialogue between agribusiness, value chain players, and banks on market potential and financing opportunities in selected agriculture commodities. Next, with the Credit Surety Fund or CSF, the CSF is a surety cover issued by the CSF cooperative that serves as a collateral substitute to facilitate access to bank financing by MSMEs and their cooperatives. As mandated by RA number 10744 CSF Cooperative Act, the BSP continues to spearhead the promotion of CSF creation and capacity building interventions for the CSFs and the Cooperative Development Authority or CDA as regulator. Next, legislative advocacies. The BSP actively advocates for legislative and market reforms to develop the critical financial infrastructure to promote private sector financing for MSMEs. So here, this includes the secured lending framework and online collateral registries, warehouse receipt system, credit guarantee system, credit information system, and credit risk database, among others. Last one with stakeholder partnerships. The BSP's promotion of MSME finance include activities such as partnership with the DTI and CPI and APEND to develop a financing ecosystem for MSMEs by tapping the negotiation centers, regulatory incentives to promote MSME lending, and development of MSME data, among others. The BSP also actively participates in the MSME Development Council and various technical working groups on MSME. And now let's proceed with the social responsibility of central bank. Social responsibility is the essence of operation of any modern company. Naturally, it covers a wide range in operation on the market, internal company environment, ensuring employees' rights, caring for the environment, and caring for a wider community. The BSP wishes to actively participate in the development of the environment where it operates. So we are convinced that we need to invest not only in the company and our employees, but on a broader scale as well in culture, sports, environmental protection, and other social activities. In this way, we significantly contribute to the quality of cohabitation with the environment and ensure unique added value to the company. Social responsibility to the national environment. PSP participates in environmental protection campaigns like by using ecological paper, collecting old paper, and separating waste. Second, responsibility towards the community. The BSP believe that their performance is also correlated to the environment in which they operate. Therefore, they wish to give something in return, namely in the form of donations and sponsorship of various community institutions. Next, the social responsibility to employees. Satisfied and motivated employees are the driving force behind any successful company. Therefore, they strive to create a pleasant and stimulating working environment for their employees and their families. PSP greatly focuses on ensuring health and safety at work, strengthening the safety culture in a working environment and among its employees. So the last, social responsibility to members. A great deal of attention is devoted to the members of the electricity exchange. As trading is carried out through the trading information system, we wish to provide for them a safe, user-friendly, and reliable trading system through continuous investment in improvements and the development of the trading platform.
Good day, everyone. I'm Amy Wabe. So today I will discuss the current report of Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas or BSP. And there are four quarter latest issues of current reports of Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas. So the first current report of Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas or BSP is the first quarter of 2020. So let's proceed to the first quarter of 2020. The Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas or BSP reduces the policy rate cumulatively by 75 basis points or BPS in quarter 1, 2020. At its monetary policy meeting on February 6, the BSP decided to cut its key policy interest rate overnight reverse purchase or RRP facility by 25 BPS to 3.75% as a preemptive move to support market confidence amid the potential spillover associated with increased external headwinds and the possible adverse impact of the COVID-19 pandemic on economic activity and market sentiment. In its 19 March policy meeting, the BSP reduced the key policy rate anew by 50 bps to 3.25% for the overnight RRP facility as a follow-on monetary policy respond to address the adverse spillover associated with the ongoing pandemic. For both policy interest rate cuts, the corresponding interest rates on the overnight lending and deposit facility were also reduced accordingly. Second is the banking system remains sound and stable. The banking system total resources reached 18.8 trillion as of end March 2020. It is equivalent to 96.0% of GDP or gross domestic product. Asset quality remains stable with net non-performing loan or NNPL ratio at 1.2% and gross NPL ratio at 2.2% as of end of March 2020. Capital adequacy ratios, both on solo and consolidated basis, remain well above the BSP regulatory threshold of 10.0% and the international standard of 8.0%. So the next current report of BSP or Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas is the second quarter of 2020. So let's proceed to the second quarter of 2020. The BSP reduces key policy rate by a cumulative 100 basis points in quarter 2 2020. The BSP announced an off-cycle policy rate reduction by 50 basis points or BPS on April 16, 2020, and another follow-on 50 BP rate cut on June 25, 2020. This brings the overnight reverse purchase or RRP rate to 2.25%. The interest rates on the overnight lending and deposit facilities were likewise lower accordingly. The latest baseline forecast during the quarter indicated that the inflation could settle near the low end of the target range of 3.0% plus 1 ppt for 2020 to 2022, with the balance of risk to the inflation outlook leaning toward the downside. In deciding to reduce the key policy interest rate twice during the quarter. Also, the BSP believes that keeping monetary policy accommodative will help mitigate downside risk to growth and amid the impact of COVID-19 pandemic on the economy. Second, banking system remains sound and stable. Bank lending expanded at a slight modest pace of 9.6% year-on-year as of end June 2020, amid limited operation due to lockdowns. In terms of asset quality, the banking system gross non-performing loan or GNPL ratio rose slightly to 2.5% as of end June 2020, but still below the pre-Asian crisis level of 3.5%. Moreover, capital adequacy ratios, both on solo and consolidated basis, remain well the BSP regulatory threshold of 10.0% and the international standard of 8.0%. And the next current report of Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas is the third quarter of 2020. So let's proceed to the third quarter of 2020. The BSP maintains policy rate in quarter 3, 2020. At its monetary policy meeting on August 20 and October 1, the BSP decided to maintain the interest rate on the BPS overnight reverse purchase or RRP facility at 2.25%. The interest rates on the overnight deposit and lending facilities were likewise kept at 1.75% and 2.75% respectively. And the banking system remains sound and stable. Outstanding loan of universal and commercial banks, net of placement with the BSP, is to 2.8% in September 2020. In terms of asset quality, the banking system gross non-performing loan or GNPL ratio expectively rose to 3.5% as of end September 2020, but still remain manageable. Moreover, capital adequacy ratios, both on solo and consolidated basis, remain well above the BSP regulatory threshold of 10.0% and the international standard of 8.0%. And the last current report of Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas is the last quarter or the fourth quarter of 2020. So let's proceed to the fourth quarter of 2020. The BSP cuts policy rate in quarter 4 2020. At its policy meeting on November 19, 2020, the BSP decided to cut the interest rate on the overnight reverse repurchase or RRP facility by 25 basis points or BPS to 2.0%. The interest rates on the overnight deposit and lending facility were likewise reduced to 1.5% and 2.5% respectively. Meanwhile, the BSP maintained monetary policy setting in its policy meeting on December 17 amid weakening inflation outlook. And for the last, the banking system remained sound and stable in quarter 4 2020. Outstanding loan of universal and commercial banks, net of placement with the BSP, declined by 0.7% in December 2020. In terms of asset quality, the banking system gross non-performing loan or GNPL ratio rose to 3.6% as of end December 2020, but still remain at manageable levels. Moreover, capital adequacy ratios, both on solo and consolidated basis, remain well above the BSP regulatory threshold of 10.0% and the international standard of 8.0%. And that's all. Thank you.
Good day everyone, I'm Jara Jesus and now I will discuss the VAUSI and gender and development and if the Bangko Sentral of the Philippines participate in this kind of advocacies. But first, I will tackle the VAUSI and gender and development. What is VAUSI? VAUSI is the Anti-Violence Against Women and Their Children Act of 2004. Violence against women and their children refers to any act or a series of acts committed by any person against a woman who is wife, former wife, or against a woman with whom the person has or had a sexual or dating relationship, or with whom he has a common child, or against her child, whether legitimate or illegitimate, within or without the family abode. This declaration of policy, it is declared that the state value that the dignity of women and children guarantees full respect for human rights. The state also recognizes the need to protect the family and its members, particularly women and children, from violence and threats, and their personal safety and security. The VAUSI includes, but it's not limited to the following acts. One is the physical violence. Physical violence refers to acts that includes bodily or physical harm. Next is sexual violence. Refers to an act which is sexual in nature committed against a woman or her child. It includes rape, sexual harassment, treating of women or her child as a sex object. Next is psychological violence. It refers to acts or omission causing or likely to cause mental or emotional suffering of the victim, such as but not limited to intimidation, harassment, stalking, damage to property, humiliation, repeated verbal abuse, and marital infidelity. It includes causing or allowing the victim to witness the physical, sexual, or psychological abuse of a member of the family to which a victim belongs, or to witness pornography in any form, or to witness abusive injury to pets, or unlawful or unwanted deprivation of the right to custody and or in visitation of common children. And last is the economic abuse. Refers to acts that make attempt to make a woman financially dependent. This includes the following: the withdrawal of financial support, preventing the victim from engaging in any legitimate profession, occupation, business or activity, deprivation of financial resources, and the right to conjugal community, and more. What are the penalties for committing vowsy? Offenders proven in court to be guilty of the crime shall be penalized with: first, imprisonment ranging from 1 month and 1 day to 20 years, payment of 100,000 to 300,000 in damages, and third is the mandatory psychological counseling or psychiatric treatment. Let's move on to the next topic, which is the gender and development. So gender and development, or GAD or GAD, refers to the development perspective and process that is participatory and empowering, equitable, sustainable, free from violence, respectful of human rights, supportive of self-determination and actualization of human potential. The gender and development seek to achieve gender equality as a fundamental value that should be reflected in development choices and contends that women are active agents of development, not just passive recipients of development. GAD focus primarily on two major frameworks. First is the gender roles and social relationship analysis. Gender roles focus on social construction of identities within the household and also reveal the expectation from maleness and femaleness and the relative access to resources, while in social relations analysis exposes the social dimension of hierarchical power relation embedded in social institutions, and also its determining influence on the relative position of men and women in society. I found one source on Google from ABS-CBN News with the title of "Banks with Heart, Women at BSP Lead the Way in Gender Equality." So the BSP advocates diversity because women can bring in a different perspective in, among other decision-making process and in the way personnel are being engaged, she said. So the two of the three deputies of BSP, Governor Nestor Espinilla, are women: Fonacher, who is in charge of supervising banks, and Sid Amador, who is in charge of resource management sector. So in the boards of big banks, however, women occupy only a fifth of available position according to BSP data. And also, given that gender equality concerns and effort are at the forefront, I am positive that the disparity of men's and women's representation in top position will be on decreasing trend, Furniture told ABS-CBN News. And women are also more intuitive, more patient, and pay more attention to details, traits that are useful in decision making. So for me, the Bangko Sentral of the Philippines participate and also support these advocacies because it is part of their social responsibilities and social environment.
BSP Environmental Participation. The Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas recognizes that climate change and other environmental and social risks may pose financial stability concerns. So, BSP has an involvement key to climate change reform. The BSP chief lauded local banks' recent efforts to issue so-called green bonds to include environmental agenda into their portfolio. Green bonds are financial instruments issued by companies to investors whose proceeds are used to finance projects that bring environmental benefits. The bank's participation in the green or sustainable finance market can send a powerful message of sustainability to the business community. By deciding to finance sustainable projects, you can create more value to the company's stakeholders while preserving the environment and humanity. Two green bonds were executed last year with the Philippine branch of the Hong Kong and Shanghai Banking Corporation. The bank served as sole global coordinator in the $410 million green bond by AC Energy Philippines Incorporated. It was also joint lead manager in the 15 billion pesos green bond issued by the Rizal Commercial Banking Corporation. In 2018, BDO Unibank Corporation issued its own $150 million green bond. Also, in October last year, the BSP announced its decision to invest in green bonds launched by the Bank for International Settlements. Last 8 November 2019, BSP commemorated the 6th-year anniversary of Typhoon Yolanda, which is considered to be the strongest typhoon that struck the country in 2013. Lastly, three major earthquakes hit North Cotabato and surrounding provinces in October 2019 alone. Thousands of families were affected and scores of houses and infrastructures were damaged. BSP thinks that they should prepare for threats or risks that may happen anytime, especially those that have prolonged significant impact, such as those resulting from environmental degradation or climate change risks. Several climate vulnerability reports have consistently positioned the Philippines at the top as one of the countries exposed and vulnerable to natural disasters or climate change hazards. These facts provide a strong impetus and sense of urgency for all stakeholders to work together to address environmental issues, including climate change. Meanwhile, operationally, the BSP is already undertaking pockets of activities related to green practices. Just recently, the BSP participated in the open-ended Green Bond Fund launched by the Bank for International Settlements as part of sustainable investing in reserve management. The BSP also implemented the MB Paper Light facility that resulted in the significant reduction of paper usage during MB meetings and installed energy-efficient mechanisms such as solar panels and inverter technology in air conditioning systems. The geographical location of the Philippine banks are prone to physical risks from severe weather conditions. It is in this light that the BSP adopted a policy that provides temporary regulatory relief to banks which are located in areas affected by natural calamities. The regulatory relief aims to assist affected banks in their recovery and allow them to resume normal operations. This refers to the risks resulting from climate change, which can be event driven or longer term shifts in climate patterns that may cause direct damage to assets or indirectly through the disruption of supply chain. Acute physical risks include floods, typhoon, droughts, wildfires, earthquakes. Chronic physical risks include changes in precipitation and extreme weather variability, rising sea levels, and chronic heat waves. At present, Philippine banks are getting more involved into green finance, issuing green or sustainability bonds in order to fund and refinance renewable energy and energy efficiency projects, green buildings, and other green assets. The group is looking forward to adopting enabling policies that will promote sustainable finance. It also aims to facilitate investments in public infrastructure and mobilize funds to finance green or sustainable projects. And that's all. Thank you.